I ain't gonna let you sing and disrespect. Hold on, I ain't gonna let you sing and disrespect me like that. You ain't gonna disrespect me. Okay, I've been here before you. I will take you out this planet.
Welcome to the story of how I, an art student from the middle of nowhere, created a talking robot monkey. Well, it's actually more of an animatronic than a robot. It doesn't actually speak, and it's not even a monkey. It's a chimpanzee. Chimps are technically apes, not monkeys, and yes, there is a difference. It all started with a college course of mine that was focused on one major project for the entire semester. The goal of this project was to take an existing exhibit from our university's Natural History Museum and modify or add to it to make it interactive in a new and imaginative way. My instant reaction to this prompt was, wow, that's cool. But I had not the slightest idea of what I wanted to do for it. Because of this, I had to brainstorm. My ideas were all over the place at first, but I eventually narrowed them to something with face tracking and maybe some animatronics. Even harder than coming up with this was deciding what exhibit to use. I walked around the museum for hours before deciding that I would choose between either an owl or a coyote. But just as I was about to leave, I stumbled upon the Human and Chimp exhibit, which compares humans to our closest biological relatives, chimpanzees. This instantly gave me a great idea for what to do. If we are so closely related to chimpanzees, why not give us a way to have a conversation with one? I decided to create an animatronic chimp that responds to you when you talk to it. I just had to figure out how. I have some decent experience when it comes to writing code and using an Arduino with servos, which you could see in my smart candle video from last year. So I figured I would use 2 servos to create a pan and tilt system and control it with a face tracking library in p5.js. I was ecstatic to order the things I needed and get to the process of failing over and over until it finally does what I want. But I could not do that just yet. To my dismay, my professor required that before getting into making our projects with technology and other cool things, we needed to create what is called a low-fidelity prototype. This is a version of a creation that is made from simple things to get the basic idea across. I really did not want to do this. I thought it would be a waste of time that could be better spent throwing different lines of code at my Arduino to get the thing to work. Nonetheless, I still had to do it. So, for my low-fidelity prototype, I made this. I printed a picture of a chimp face and folded around some plastic bags and put it on a stick to make a makeshift puppet. As it turned out, I was actually wrong about the lo-fi prototype being a waste of time. At my puppet show, I got some really great ideas that I otherwise would have overlooked. I learned that I should lean into the creepiness of the idea and keep the playfulness of the experience. Doing this gave me confidence that I actually had a good idea as well, and I wasn't about to waste my time on something that is pointless. For the next prototype, I was finally able to break out the electronics. I ordered a pan and tilt servo kit on Amazon that was absolutely horrible because nothing fit together properly. Unfortunately, I had a deadline and I basically procrastinated until the last minute, so I had to make it work. I wrote some code in processing to make the servos move based on my mouse position and threw the puppet on it. With that, I had the basics figured out. Up next was the complicated parts. I knew how to use some face tracking code, but to do that I had to get P5, which is a web-based IDE, to communicate with my Arduino, which was a major headache. I eventually figured it out after days of trying different tutorials with an app called P5 Serial Control. To get the face tracking to transfer to the servo movement, I simply mapped the X and Y positions of the face being identified to values that could be used by the servos for movement. I finally threw out my nightmare-fueling chimp puppet and replaced it with a stuffed animal. For the audio, I used a library that interprets human voice and translates it to text to trigger random chimp noise responses. At this point, it was basically done.
So the mic doesn't work?
No, it works.
Oh, it works now? So it'll respond to me? Okay. It's so cool.
There were a few more steps I needed to take to polish it up a bit though. I wanted to hide the Arduino and all the wires a bit, so I decided to make a stump for the chimp to sit on and to hold everything inside, which I 3D printed and spray painted. There were some problems with the movement, and the audio being random was a bit pointless, so I spent some time fixing that up and adding trigger words like banana. Finally, it was finished. I now present to you Quip with the chimp.
I don't like your tone, though. I just asked you a simple question. What's the move next weekend? Like, hey, calm down before I take your banana. All right? I don't get down like that. I ain't gonna let you see me disrespect. Hold on, I ain't gonna let you see me disrespect me like that. You ain't gonna disrespect me. Okay, I've been here before you. I will take you out this planet. Stop. So, boy, you better stop. Hey, look, I'm a Christian. Look, I'm a Christian. Keep quiet. I see you. I see you.
Thank you so much for watching. I know this is pretty different from most of the videos I post, but I hope that you enjoy stuff like this. I have more projects with electronics in the works that will likely be posted soon, and I definitely want to commit more of my time to do similar things, even outside of my school projects. If you liked this, please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.